honey, you won't believe this drama. Chrissy Lampkin is not playing. She went off on Brooke Bailey, threatening her to stay away from Jim Jones. And get this, turns out Brooke's been carrying Jim's child, Chrissy. She's not having it, and her reaction was explosive. This tea is piping hot. In a city where ambition is the currency and secrets are a way of life, a story of love, power, and danger was quietly unraveling. And in the center of it all, Jim Jones, the name that set the streets on fire. Jim had it all: influence, charm, and enough game to make anyone believe in his world. But don't be fooled. Baby, underneath that smooth-talking, suit-wearing exterior was a mastermind, pulling strings like a pro. Enter Brooke Bailey, the girl on everyone's lips, a fierce force rising through the fashion world with a look that turned heads and a hustle that couldn't be denied. She was on the come up, booking the biggest shows and cashing checks while keeping her eyes on the prize. But then Jim crossed her path, and honey, her world flipped on its head. It was a whirlwind romance at first, a power couple vibe that was intoxicating. Jim had that magnetism, that power play energy that pulled Brooke in. Before she knew it, she was in too deep, caught up in a love story that seemed like a dream. With Jim, she was living his life too, one drenched in opulence, luxury parties, secret invite-only events, rubbing elbows with the city's most powerful. It was the VIP treatment she never knew she craved, and for a moment, it was like she was on top of the world. But baby, you know what they say about the glitter not always being gold? Slowly, the cracks started to show. Jim's charm, it could turn in a heartbeat. One moment, he'd have her laughing, feeling special, and the next, he'd be jealous, his anger flashing like a storm cloud ready to burst. Brooke was constantly on her toes, making excuses for his mood swings, telling herself that maybe her love was enough to fix him. But we all know, love alone can't change a person who doesn't want to change. Yet, deep inside, Brooke knew something wasn't right. There was this nagging feeling, this whisper in the back of her mind that kept warning her she was in too deep, that Jim's world was darker than she'd ever imagined. And then, one fateful night, everything changed.
And I walked in and I stood my ground and they accepted me, and everything that I believed in, I put on the table. I let my teenagers watch me on the show. They actually were on the show. My 8-year-old, depending on the situation, what the show was gonna be about, I picked and choose.
Jim's son stepped onto the scene, a young man tangled up in the mess of his father's world. A kid who had seen the wreckage that came with being Jim Jones' flesh and blood. This wasn't some innocent boy. Oh no. His childhood had been marked by the thirst for power, but he'd also witnessed firsthand how that power could tear people apart. This young man carried a heavy load, a secret knowledge that most people would never dare understand. He knew the truth behind Jim's charm. And trust, it wasn't pretty, Dot. After a nasty blow-up between Brooke and Jim, the son found her alone, hiding out in a quiet corner of a posh event. His eyes were wide, full of urgency and something else, a raw fear mixed with determination. He stepped up to her, his voice shaky but real. "You need to leave him," he said, his tone sharp like a warning bell. "I'm serious. If you don't, he's gonna ruin your life." Brooke's eyes locked on his, the gravity of his words hitting her like a ton of bricks. He's done it to people before. He knows exactly how to break someone. Mentally, emotionally, he'll make you feel like you ain't worth a damn. Her chest tightened, her pulse racing as the chill of his warning crept through her. Those words? They cut deeper than she ever expected. She'd been pushing the red flags to the back of her mind, thinking she could handle Jim's storms, but now it was impossible to ignore. The son's eyes, full of pain and truth, broke through the walls she'd built up. For the first time, she felt the weight of what she was up against. Days turned into nights, and Brooke found herself drowning in indecision. Every second with Jim felt like it was suffocating her. The once glamorous world she'd been living in turning into a cage she couldn't escape from. The shiny parties, the high-class lifestyle. It was all starting to feel like a trap, each moment heavier than the last. And in the quiet of her mind, memories began to flood her. Memories of a time when life wasn't so twisted, so dangerous. But was it too late to walk away? Brooke couldn't escape the thoughts that kept creeping in. The little truths she'd been pushing to the back of her mind. The way Jim controlled her every move, how he systematically isolated her from friends, making her feel like the only person who mattered was him. What he called love was really just manipulation with a shiny, seductive twist. Each memory, each little detail chipped away at her, wearing her down. Despite all the chaos inside her, Brooke clung to the idea that maybe, just maybe, she could fix Jim. Maybe love could heal the cracks in their relationship, patch up the damage that had already been done. But the more she held on to that hope, the more she felt the walls closing in, squeezing the life out of her. That warning from Jim's son, it played over and over in her head like a broken record. He was right. She was in over her head. Then came that night, one of those lavish parties, all glitter and glam, with laughter filling the air and glasses clinking in the background. On the surface, everything seemed perfect, but for Brooke, it was her breaking point. She watched Jim work the room, that charm of his on full display. His smile was like a magnet, pulling everyone in, making them feel like they were the most important person in the world. But when their eyes met across the room, something froze inside her. In that moment, she realized she was trapped, torn between the man she thought she loved and the suffocating reality that she couldn't keep ignoring anymore. Brooke didn't hesitate. She took a breath, deep and steady, and made a decision that would change everything. It was time to face Jim, no more hiding behind illusions of love or hope. The next day, she walked into his office, the air thick with unspoken tension. "Jim," she started, her voice shaking but strong. "I can't do this anymore. This isn't love, it's controlled." The words were like a match to gasoline. Jim's temper exploded, his rage flying high as he realized she was serious. He started hurling threats, insults, anything to claw back the control he was losing. But Brooke, she wasn't backing down. Not this time. She stood tall, armed with everything she had learned, the warning from his son, the painful truth of her own experiences. She saw Jim for who he really was, and no amount of his fury was going to change that. All right, let's bring that final touch of empowerment, intensity, and confidence with a dash of Black American flair. Jim's power, it was all smoke and mirrors, a slick facade masking the deep insecurity that gnawed at him from the inside. And as Brooke turned her back on him, leaving his world and him behind, she felt a shift. The weight that had crushed her soul for so long, gone. No more being controlled, no more living in the shadow of someone else's design. This wasn't just an escape, it was a rebirth. Brooke was taking back her life, rewriting her own damn story. She had been through the fire, but now she was the one holding the match. The threat Jim posed had been real, but so was her strength. She walked away, not broken, but stronger than ever. In the aftermath, Brooke found a power in herself she didn't even know she had. She dove back into her career, rekindling old friendships and embracing the independence she had long neglected. The road wasn't always easy. There were days when the past tried to creep back in, when doubts whispered in her ear, but each step forward was a victory. With every move, she solidified her belief that real love doesn't trap you, it sets you free. Brooke's story, it wasn't just a comeback, it was a rise, a shining reminder that even in your darkest hours, the strength to break free and reclaim your life is always inside you. The shadows may linger, but they don't last forever. The light of self-discovery, of knowing your worth burns brighter, lighting the path to a future shaped by her own choices. And that, honey, was the real power.
Here with a smile on your face, like everything is a joke too. Your mother was getting a massage, and Zeke was getting a lap dance in my backyard. Why? Because you make them feel like it's okay.
If you can find another me, you know what I'm saying, by tomorrow, but I can't find another you, then leave. You know what I'm saying? Why would you even stay down this long if you can find another me just like that?
Hey y'all, today we're diving deep into the explosive drama rocking reality TV. Chrissy Lampkin, the queen of loyalty and fierce love, found herself blindsided when her longtime love, Jim Jones, got hit with shocking news. Out of nowhere, reality star Brooke Bailey drops a bomb. She's pregnant, and Jim's the dad. As you can imagine, this left Chrissy and fans everywhere stunned. The streets are buzzing, social media's in flames, and we're here to break down all the juicy details. From betrayal to heartbreak, let's unravel how Chrissy is facing this new reality and what's next for her and Jim. Chrissy Lampkin got swept into a storm of emotions in the wild, always drama-filled world of reality TV, where feelings stay on max and love stories are everybody's business. Known for her no-nonsense attitude and her die-hard loyalty, Chrissy had been riding with rapper Jim Jones for what felt like forever. fans live for their intense up and down romance, tagging along through every high and low. But then, boom, a bombshell shook Chrissy's world, leaving everybody in shock. Out of nowhere, reality star Brooke Bailey came out announcing she was pregnant with Jim Jones' baby. Yes, Jim's baby. This news set the streets on fire, with fans and industry insiders speculating like crazy. Chrissy, she was blindsided, left a reeling because she had long pictured a future with Jim. This hit her deep, like a knife straight to the heart. A betrayal she never saw coming. She tried to keep it together for the cameras, but inside it was tearing her up. Behind the scenes, Chrissy was drowning in pain, anger, and a sense of betrayal too big to shake. Her friends and family could only watch as she spiraled, caught up in the rage, the heartbreak, the hurt that wouldn't let her go. One unfiltered moment, and she broke down, tears flowing as she looked back on the love she once thought was unbreakable. But this was a painful wake-up call, a hard truth that her and Jim's relationship might be shattered beyond repair. Chrissy wasn't just hurting for herself, her heart ached for the future she dreamed of with Jim, a future that suddenly felt snatched away. As word spread about Jim's betrayal, the media frenzy zeroed in on her. And even with her usual tough exterior, you could see the toll it was taking. Facing the world, she poured her heart out in interviews, stressing loyalty and honesty, the same values she'd stood by her whole life. Fans and supporters sent love her way, but none of it could ease that raw wound left by the betrayal. In the days that followed, Chrissy took a deep dive into herself, realizing it was time to refocus on her needs if she ever wanted to heal. She wasn't about to let this mess define her. With her squad cheering her on, she began to rebuild, reclaiming her story step by step. The pain was deep, but she started to see a flicker of hope, a path forward where she could find her power again. Chrissy transformed her heartache into strength, showing the world that while love and betrayal can shake you, they don't have to steal your future. But the reality, TV, and social media world, it was still popping with fresh tea. Just weeks after Chrissy and Jim's breakup hit the streets, word was out about a rumored romance between Jim and Brooke Bailey, and then it got even messier. A photo leaked of Jim and Brooke laughing it up, dressed like they were ready to say, "I do." Fans were in a frenzy, piecing together what looked like the real story behind this twist. For those who'd been there through Jim and Chrissy's 15-year roller coaster, it was wild to see him move on so fast. Their breakup had marked the end of an era in reality TV, and folks couldn't stop talking. But when Chrissy went public declaring she was done with Jim and ready to move on, that was the headline. Just weeks after Chrissy and Jim split, word was already on the street that Jim had linked up with none other than Basketball Wives star Brooke Bailey. At first, folks brushed off Brooke and Jim's public run-ins as pure coincidence, but it wasn't long before things got real. When that now infamous pic of them, dressed like they were at a wedding, hit social media, Brooke in a simple, stunning white dress, and Jim looking sharp in a suit, people couldn't ignore it. The whole vibe of that photo, the way they were holding each other, grinning ear to ear, it felt way too intimate to be just a publicity stunt. Still, not everyone was buying it. Some folks pointed out it could easily be for a reality show or a music video, because we know how the industry loves a good love story to get people talking. But if it was real, it had fans questioning just how fast Jim had really moved on from Chrissy and when this thing with Brooke might have started. Was this all bubbling up while he was still with Chrissy? Social media blew up with reactions, split right down the middle. Some fans were mad at Jim, feeling like he'd wasted Chrissy's best years. Others, they cheered on his fresh start, calling it a new beginning for both him and Brooke. The whole thing showed just how invested people were in Chrissy and Jim's saga. Like they'd been on this roller coaster with them from day one. And once again, all eyes were on Chrissy. With rumors flying about Jim and Brooke, everyone was waiting to see her next move. Word on the curb was that Chrissy, never one to stay quiet, might make her return to reality TV to give fans a real raw look at her life post-Jim. Meanwhile, Brooke, who's had her share of ups and downs in the romance department, could be stepping into a new chapter herself if those wedding rumors turn out to be true. Fans were on the edge of their seats, eager to see how things would play out. Many thought Jim and Brooke's union might bring them new chances both personally and professionally. But, of course, there were bound to be challenges too, especially since Chrissy was such a big part of Jim's life for years. As rumors swirl about their relationship, the real question had folks buzzing. Was this a true love story, or just another juicy reality TV setup? Some folks thought Jim and Brooke were the real deal, while others figured it was just a ploy to keep us all hooked. Jim later spoke out in an interview, getting real about his past missteps and regrets. He admitted to mistakes that hurt the very people he cared about most, realizing now how emotions can spiral and do damage you can't undo. He dropped a little wisdom, talking about the importance of keeping your emotions in check and not letting rash decisions wreck lives. Supporters of Jim and Brooke argue that everybody deserves a second chance at love, especially after a messy breakup. But the critics? Oh, they weren't here for it. To them, Jim moving on this quick was downright disrespectful to Chrissy, who'd stood by him all those years. And as the rumors got louder, everyone was dying to know. Would Jim and Brooke make it official, or were they just enjoying each other's company with no strings attached? Fans held on to every little update as if they were watching the next episode of their favorite soap. Meanwhile, entertainment news outlets were glued to the scene, waiting for any slip-up or sign that confirmed what was really going on. And so, the saga continued, with everyone on high alert for the next bombshell. Before long, the buzz around Jim and Brooke's rumored romance was everywhere, with each media outlet adding its own spin. Some were caught up in the fairy tale romance, while others zoomed in on the messy timing with Chrissy's breakup. Fans were left sifting through all kinds of stories, from shady critiques to over-the-top celebrations. And as Jim and Brooke started stepping out more, hitting events together, posting little glimpses of their life online, the hype only grew stronger. Now, the question on everyone's mind was, would they finally confirm their status or keep us all guessing? Through all this drama, Jim was taking a hard look at himself. He knew he couldn't change the past, but he was focused on moving forward, promising to learn from his mistakes. This wasn't just another rough patch, it was a lesson in responsibility, forgiveness, and keeping his emotions in check. He was set on rebuilding, fixing the connections he'd let slip, and showing up as a better man. The journey was far from over, but Jim was ready to put in the work, leaving fans curious to see if this was really a fresh start or just another chapter in his saga.